Section 1 of Library of the World's Best Literature, Ancient and Modern, Volume 9. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Catherine Phipps. Library of the World's Best Literature, Ancient and Modern, Volume 9. Section 1. Selected Works by Adalbert von Chamisso. Adalbert von Chamisso, 1781 to 1838. Louis Charles Adelaide de Chamisso, known as Adalbert von Chamisso, the youngest son of Count Louis-Marie de Chamisso, was born in the paternal castle of Boncourt in Champagne, January 30th, 1781. Driven into exile by the Revolution, the family of loyalists sought refuge in the Low Countries, and afterward in Germany, settling in Berlin in 1797. In later years, the other members of the family returned to France and established themselves once more as Frenchmen in their native land. But Adalbert von Chamisso, German by nature and characteristics, as well as by virtue of his early education and environment, struck root in Germany and was the genuine product of German soil. In 1796, the young Chamisso became page to Queen Louise of Prussia, and while at court, by the Queen's directions, he received the most careful education. He was made ensign in 1798 and lieutenant in 1801 in the regiment von Getz. A military career was repugnant to him, and his French antecedents did not tend to make his life agreeable among the German officers. That the service was not wholly without interest, however, is shown by the two treatises upon military subjects written by him in 1798 and 1799. As a young officer, he belonged to a romantic brotherhood calling itself the Polar Star, which counted among its members his lifelong friend Hitzig, Alexander zur Lippe, Varnhagen, and other young writers of the day. He diligently applied himself to the mastery of the German tongue, made translations of poems and dramas, and to relieve the irksomeness of his military life, incessantly studied Homer. His most ambitious literary effort of this time was a Faust, 1803, a metaphysical, somewhat sophomoric attempt, but the only one of his early poems that he admitted into his collected works. While still in the Prussian army, he edited with Varnhagen and Neumann a periodical called the Musenalmanach, 1804, which existed 3 years. After repeated but vain efforts to obtain release from the uncongenial military service, the capitulation of Hamelin at length set him free, 1806. He left Germany and went to France, but, disappointed in his hopes, unsettled and without plans, he returned, and several years were lost in profitless and desultory wanderings. From 1810 to 1812 he was again in France. Here he became acquainted with Alexander von Humboldt and Uhland, and renewed his friendship with Wilhelm Schlegel. With Helmina von Chasey he undertook the translation into French of Schlegel's Vienna Lectures upon art and literature. Chamisso was indifferent to the task, and the translation went on but slowly. To expedite the work, he was invited to stay at Chaumont, the residence of Madame de Stael, where Schlegel was a member of her household. Here his careless personal habits and his inevitable pipe brought odium upon him in that polished circle. Madame de Stael was always his friend, and in 1811 he went to her at Coppet, where, by a happy chance, he took up the study of botany, with Auguste de Stael as instructor. Filled with enthusiasm for his new pursuit, he made excursions through Switzerland, collecting and botanizing. The period of indecision was at an end, and in 1812, at the age of 31, he matriculated as student of medicine at the University of Berlin, and applied himself with resolution to the study of the natural sciences. During the war against Napoleon, he sought refuge in Kunersdorf with the Itzenplitz family, where he occupied his time with botany and the instruction of young Itzenplitz. It was during this time, 1813, that Peter Schlemmel's Wundersame Geschichte, Peter Schlemmel's Wonderful History, was written, one of the masterpieces of German literature. His Faust and Fortunatus had
Sample complete. Ready to continue?